In my last video, I made a farm for ink sacs and a farm for glow ink sacs on Divergence SMP of Bedrock Edition Realm. Today, I'm going to make a farm for ink sacs and a farm for glow ink sacs on Pobble SMP, which is a Java-based server. And because it's Java-based, I have to build the farms very differently. I'm going to start with the ink sac farm. The version I made from Bedrock Edition was just essentially some big spawning tanks high above an ocean. Unfortunately, the spawning mechanics for Java Edition for Squid are that they only spawn between Y level 63 and Y level 50. So that means I can't make a spawning tank high above an ocean where nothing else will spawn because Squid won't spawn that high. Instead, I have to make the tank for the Squid to spawn in at the same level as a river or ocean. And I think a river works better because then I have to drain the river around that, and if it was an ocean, I'd have to drain a lot more water. And because Squid spawn in groups of 2 to 4 in rivers or in oceans in Java Edition, unlike Bedrock Edition where they spawn in smaller groups in rivers, a river works just as well as an ocean. I've already worked out a spot to place it and marked out the grid. The farm is going to be 13 by 13. That's really as big as I need it to be. And as I marked this out, I brought up the debug screen and looked at the biome I'm in to make sure it's river. Just because it looks like a river doesn't necessarily mean that it is a river. So I really needed to have the advantage of this debug screen, something you don't have in Bedrock Edition, because look, here I'm on land and I'm still on a river. Still in a river. And it finally turns into forest back here. And there are areas that are flooded that might not actually count as river biome as well. Anyway, the first thing I need to do is wall this 13 by 13 area off and drain it, which may seem strange. How am I going to get squid to spawn if I drain it? But the fact is, if I built just a big tank of water with magma blocks on the bottom, that wouldn't work in Java Edition because the squid aren't affected by current in Java Edition. They would just swim along happily in the bubble columns without getting pulled down by them. So I need to use a different tactic to dispatch the squid. Now that I've drained everything, I'm going to dig down to Y46. Now, as I said, the squid will only spawn between Y63 and Y50, but I need space for the ink sac collection system. The collection system here is very much like what I did for the Bedrock Edition farm. I'm using a different color block so I know where the powered rails go. Those are the powered blocks. Like I said, in Java Edition, the squid aren't going to get pulled down by bubble columns. So I'm going to create individual columns of water the glow squid can spawn in, and then they'll just casually swim out of the bubble column and fall to the magma block floor. There are fence gates that are going to contain each individual column of water so that the magma blocks on the bottom are clear of water. Alright, I think that looks good. Now, I have to drain the river around this. I believe 50 blocks in every direction will be good enough. And that's why I built this on one end of the river, so I only have to drain it in the one direction and a little bit in two other sides. Under perfect conditions, this river wouldn't be quite so deep, but I figured out that I could put a floor down at Y46. It's the same level where the hopper minecart and rails are running, because my AFK spot is going to be at Y175. That means that no mobs are going to spawn below Y47, so I could put the floor down there, and then I don't have to drain the very, very depths at the bottom of the river. It saves me a little bit of trouble. This is the part of the build that I hate. I hate having to drain the river, and I wish there was another way to do it. The farm is essentially done, but it won't work unless I drain all of the river within 50 blocks of where the farm is in every direction. In Bedrock Edition, squid won't spawn at low light levels, and they won't spawn underground. In Java Edition, they don't care about light levels. They'll spawn at any light levels, and they will spawn underground. So I can't just cover the river up. Have to drain it. There's no alternative. And because of this, it's going to end up taking me 3 or 4 times longer to make this Java Edition farm than it took to make me the Bedrock Edition farm, where I just had the spawning tanks high above an ocean where no other spawnable space was nearby. Up at my AFK spot, looking down, the render distance on this server is awful, so I can't actually see the squid down there, but I can see the puffs of smoke of squid expiring on the magma blocks below. Anyway, it's been an hour. Let's see what I got out of this. I made a way to climb down, but also, as long as I have wings, I can just fly down. Let's see how I did. Okay. Oh. Oh. It's actually less than I was anticipating. It's about 4,200 ink sacs in an hour. I'm kind of surprised. I got all these extra chests thinking it'll be a lot more than that. The farm I'm in, Bedrock Edition, took probably a third as much time to build it because I didn't have to do any draining of the river. And it got me about 2,500 ink sacs an hour. Still, I shouldn't be disappointed by more than a double chest of ink sacs for an hour AFK. That's good. That's good. Now with this farm done, I'll do a little bit of cleanup of the area around here, organize my storage and everything, and then get on to making a farm for glow ink sacs. See how good that one was. Now, for the glow ink farm, you can see where I made the ink farm, and my base is there. Now, to the north of my base, underground, there's a lot of lush caves with aquifers, and then this mountain range here has deep dark under it, and none of that's going to work. I don't think the glow squid will spawn into deep dark, and if there are aquifers underground, then I would have to drain them all, and that'd be a pain in the butt to find and drain them. But I think I found a good spot over to the west that shouldn't have a lot of flooded caves in it, I think. Alright, where was it? It was around here somewhere. That's not a very good marker, is it? For where I dug the tunnel down. I can improve on that. A little Java Edition feature. I have this banner that I've labeled, Glowing Farm. I use the map on it, and now the map has a marker on it. Similar to Bedrock Edition, glow squid will spawn below Y30 in water. But in Java Edition, the lower you make the farm, the better. The more efficiently it will work. So I've dug a spiral staircase all the way down to bedrock level. This is as low as I can make it. And now I have to dig out an area for the farm. If I make my AFK spot here at the bottom of the stairs, and I think this direction is the direction I should dig, 30 blocks out that way, and I'll build the farm there. In the bedrock farm, I made a 16 by 16 area just because it felt right. But here, it has to be an odd size. An odd number of blocks. 17 by 17 seems good. tank where the glow squid will spawn and the collection system is exactly the same as it was for the ink sac farm. The only difference here is location. I'm as low in the world as possible in an area where I hope there aren't any flooded caves around. I don't think there are. Apparently, glow squid need complete darkness to spawn in Java Edition. That's different from Bedrock Edition, where I didn't really concern myself with lighting, but it looks like here I'm going to have to. So the parts where I'm using glass, it's actually tinted glass that doesn't allow light through. The area outside the tank I want to be lit up so that nothing will spawn out there. Won't get harassed by monsters. But I need the inside to be completely dark. So I have walls and ceiling of tinted glass and solid blocks, and I'm putting slabs over all of the water sources. Well, let's see how it does. I'll go back here, be AFK for a while, and see if I get any productivity out of it after an hour. If it's not doing very well, I may have to go back and look around for caves that have flooding, but I think there shouldn't be anything like that around here. I hope. I believe it's been an hour. AFK. I put a little sign up here. AFK here. That is 24 blocks away from here, so that should be good. Let's see what I got out of this thing. That's not too shabby. I think it's about equivalent, maybe a little bit better than the Bedrock Edition version that I did. You know, really the hardest part about this farm is making sure that there's no flooded caves around here. And that can be tricky to do. Now all I have left to do is, you know, make access to this place a little bit better than that long spiral staircase I made. And let people know on the Discord where to find the glowing farm and the ink sac farm so other people can take advantage of this, because hold on just a second. Looking at the replay footage, I see a flaw in this design, and it's one that I can fix pretty easily. You see, the glowing farm, I made it a lot like the squid ink farm, but with the squid ink farm, the water sources were at Y64. That's higher, one block higher than the squid can spawn, so no squid ever spawn in the water source blocks. In the glowing farm, the glow squid were spawning sometimes in the water source blocks, and that's a problem because there's walls on all four sides of the water source blocks, so they'd never swim out of there. They just kind of linger in that space, taking up the mob cap forever. I can quite easily fix that by putting upside down stairs where all the water source blocks are and having waterlogged upside down stairs. The glow squid will never spawn in those, and so they won't get stuck in that little one block space forever, taking up the mob cap. How much of a difference will that make in my rates? Well, let's find out. Alright, it's been an hour. Let's see how much better that is. Oh, the minecart's still unloading. Holy mackerel. So before I made that change, I got 28.5 stacks. It's about 1,800. This time I got 55 plus stacks. That's more than 3,500. That's almost double the productivity out of the farm for making that one little fix. Well, thank goodness I could look at that in the replay and see that. Nice. And in case you didn't catch my last video, where I did similar farms to this, a ink sac farm and a glowing sac farm in a Bedrock Edition realm, check out this video here. And the great thing about this server, it is a public server available to anyone to join. You can check out the link in the description to Merry Minecraft's Discord. They're managing the server, and it has instructions in there about how you too can join this server, whether you play on Bedrock or in Java. I've been Amanchu. Thanks for watching Amanchu's Pobo SMP.